The concepts of stability and sensitivity when it comes to mental health and emotions have become completely misconstrued from what they actually mean. So they've gotten a very negative connotation. If someone says, this dude's so unstable, or that girl's so oversensitive. What is sensitivity and what is stability? I wanted to demonstrate it the engineering and science way and in a visual way. And this video came to mind. And I was like, hey, you know what? This might get people to understand a bit better when somebody is going through this sort of thing, or if they are themselves. Just a visual representation of what it is. So stick around if this is something that affects you or someone you know. And the thing is, I've struggled to articulate how I feel when I transition from a positive, happy state to a more depressed side of the spectrum. It's not just depression. That's why they used to call it manic depression. It's depression, it's anxiety, it's rapid thoughts, it's noise, it's hypersensitivity. And the best way to describe it, though it's hard to do because people have taken this to be a horrible thing, is instability. It is pure instability in what your chemicals in your body are doing, your chemicals in your mind are doing, and as a result, what your emotions are doing. I am no neuroscientist, so you know what? If there is a neuroscientist out there that sees this, I'd love to dig into this further. So I don't really know the chemical and the mechanics inside the brain around this, but I'm going to use an analogy from engineering to give you an idea of what's going on. And I say it now to Leanne specifically, not anyone else, that I'm feeling unstable. And immediately this probably brings some terrible thoughts to your mind. But it's the best way to describe it, honestly. I felt stable for quite a while, where I was in better control of my emotions. Things were not as heightened or as amplified as they are at the moment. And this is the ideal time for me to capture this because I'm feeling it. I've been feeling it since this morning. It started about a day or two ago, so I knew that this was on its way. It'll come, it'll happen, it'll go, I'll have a good time again, and then it'll come again, rinse and repeat until death do us part. I don't know, but anyway, so why I call it instability is it's exactly that. You go from this feeling of calm and calmness in your mind to this erratic, panicky, anxious state, and then everything is heightened. For me, it sounds especially certain frequencies specifically, and anything that's out of my control becomes even more of a panic-inducing feeling. A simple example is driving. And for me, it's when people are not considerate to each other, and where normally I'd just be like, oh, you suck, but brush it off and carry on driving, and it wouldn't have an emotional impact. Like today, driving back from dropping off Mira, it was like if a person did something stupid in traffic or was just inconsiderate, I'd literally feel what it would feel like if I would just turn the steering wheel and ram into that person. And I mean, for some people I know, it gets further out of hand where they can't contain their aggression or their anger, and I let go, or I let it slip sometimes, where I'll swear or I'll scream in the car, whatever, but most of the time that's when I'm alone. Sometimes it accidentally happens when Mira is around, and I have to apologize and explain to her why it happened, and she actually says, oh, Dad, that's not a nice thing to say, and then I have to be, yes, Mira, you're right. It definitely isn't. This is why it happened. It doesn't excuse it, but it's just about understanding it. And damn, my 6-year-old understands it better than most adults do. Anyway, so to illustrate this concept of instability, and I'm talking about emotionally and psychologically now, and also sensitivity. I keep looking here because this book that I picked up a while ago called Sensitive speaks a lot about what it means to be hypersensitive and how to understand it and not just think about it in a bad way. It has a lot of benefits as well. I mean, being hypersensitive to certain things also enables me to see things in my photography or in music that I wouldn't normally see when that hypersensitivity is not there. So it's interesting, you get the positives and then the drawbacks, and it's always a balance. You never get all the positives without the negatives and vice versa. So Sensitive is a cool book. And then I read this a while ago called Quiet by Susan Cain, which actually led me to Sensitive. And it's very interesting. It's about introverts in an extroverted world. So I would really recommend that if you can, check it out. But anyway, back to this experiment, right? So imagine that this setup, the car and towing a trailer, is a system, and it's running stably. Oh, no, that's unstable. It's running. Okay, hold on. That's how the video starts. There we go. That's a stable system, and it's running and going along. And imagine that push that the guy is putting onto the stable system is either a trigger, an emotional trigger, a psychological trigger, or anything, any external stimulus that has the potential to destabilize a system. Now, when I talk about equilibrium from a scientific or engineering point of view, it's any system that's, let's say, in balance. So a system that is in equilibrium, say, for example, a conical shape. If it's sitting on a wide base, it's not going to tip over. That system is balanced. Or even scales, for example. If you've got two equal weights on either side and the system sits perfectly horizontally, it's balanced. But if you put force at some point on the scale or the seesaw, you are going to take the system out of balance. So it's a similar thing. And you are going to create instability. Now imagine that happy balanced seesaw, that system, are your emotions or how your mind is firing at a certain time. Everything's okay. And in a neurotypical mind, it'll tip around if there's a little bit of external force put in, any stimulus that is, or what have you, be it a trigger or what have you. In a neurodivergent mind, depending on the type of neurodivergence, that external force is able to move the system a lot more. So, and that's where sensitivity comes in. So imagine the system, and now he's moving this. This is a demonstration of weight distribution, but this system is more susceptible to a severe disturbance of stability. And I use this analogy because for me, it's something that's easier to picture. So here we are, each a somewhat balanced system in equilibrium, driving along our mental and emotional highway. And in the good times, the up times, the times when I'm in more control, I'm able to take that external stimulus and just be like, okay, it created a little bit of a vibe, but I'm still all right, and I'm not reacting to it, and everything's still staying relatively stable. And then there's those other times, like right now, where everything is highly sensitive, and here's where the sensitivity of the system comes in. Sensitivity, you can go look at electronic systems as well, but essentially the easiest way for me to describe it is the system's susceptibility to have large fluctuations or go severely out of control. I guess that's the easiest way to describe it. So if you imagine that system, once he moved the weight, becoming more sensitive. So the push, the external stimulus, the trigger can be smaller, and that system can start flapping all over the place. I hope this makes sense. And if it doesn't, well, talk to me. Go look up the video. I'll tell you what the video is called. Just give me a second. It's called Towing a Trailer Can Be Dangerous. You know, that for me is the best visual representation of this whole thing. And the point I'm trying to get across is that if we were able to say, I'm feeling unstable, without being judged for being completely loony, it would be so much easier to explain to people what's actually going on inside at a specific time. And if we were able to say, I'm feeling extra sensitive today, and, it wasn't judged, people could understand that what that means is a smaller external stimulus can set me off today. It can make me feel emotionally unstable or psychologically unstable, which can present in the forms of noise and excitement and severe sadness, severe anger, whatever. Whatever you want to put to it is that being highly sensitive at a time means that it takes less to get that system out of balance. And then stability in itself, if I'm in already a little bit of an unstable state as far as those chemicals go and as far as those neurons are firing goes and those emotions go, again, it means that I'm not in this happy, calm, stable, moving down the freeway space. I'm already jumping around a little bit. And I've already started moving around, and now there's this little internal force, and it's at a time of high sensitivity. So I've already got this going on, and now you've put that in, and you've got that. And I've figured out a couple of things that I do to bring myself back to a more stable space. So it's things like writing. Writing's a big one. That's why I started writing this morning, and I'll post that writing somewhere so you can see what I was thinking and how that actually helped me to put it across to somebody else that might feel this way or know someone that feels this way. And then the other thing is the ocean and photography for me. So photography, I've been doing these workshops in therapeutic photography, and I think that's what led me to wanting to do this today, because I've been wanting to do this and I didn't think I had anyone to speak to with it, so I wouldn't be driven to do it, and I just stopped. But now I found people, and I think there are more people out there that might actually find this useful. So I'm doing it. I'm putting this out there. And so, like I said about the therapeutic photography, is I pick up the camera and I go look at the world and take in the sounds and the light and the shadows. And then it allows my mind to come back to a more stable place. And I know that I'm just going to have to bear it out for a few days or however long it might be until I get back to a more naturally stable space. And then it's going to do its thing. It's going to come back. It's going to go. And I know that that's just a part of being what this neurodivergent mind is. And we have, as a family, have learned to deal with it in certain ways. I guess that's something for a whole nother video. But the biggest thing is me being able to explain to especially Leanne that this is what's happening. And so she understands where my behaviors are coming from. And then the other thing is surfing. I mean, the ocean, it's calming to me. Surfing just takes my mind into the wave and into what I'm doing. So it calms me down. But anyway, I hope that analogy for stability and sensitivity helps. I hope you're a little bit less hard on yourself or on someone else when it comes to the concepts of instability, being unstable, being highly sensitive. And I hope we can destigmatize what these words mean. I hope we can be able to speak openly about it in a good way, not in this bad way, and that it's just a way of notifying people that this is what my emotions are doing. This is what my chemicals are doing. And it's not my control. Yes, I use medication to try and regulate that. There are people with hormonal imbalances that have no control over these things. If we can just be open about what it is and why, and be mindful and able to have the presence of mind and I forget the term, but be able to see in ourselves why it's happening and identify it, we're able to manage it a lot better. I hope this helped, and reach out. Let me know if there's anything we can discuss further, and if not, have a good one, and we'll catch up next time.